Hello, how are you doing?
Good, excellent.
Nice, nice. So today we are here with Thierry, the founder and creative director of Base Design. For those of you who haven't seen Base Design, beautiful work, let me share some of it with you. So Base Design is a branding agency, so they're known for incredibly beautiful brand work for various brands like New York Times, as well as some controversial and interesting provocative companies like Museum of Sex. But let me kick off this session with quick fire questions from me. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Brilliant. First question. Last artist or song you played today?
It's a disco remix by Brazilian group. Awesome. I don't remember the name. It was just
Amazing.
5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Amazing. Love it. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Bold, old, and enthusiastic.
Love it. What is one thing that annoys you the most?
Oh, lies probably.
Lies.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Your favorite font? Okay.
Unfound. Yeah. No, Basic or unfound.
Basic. Okay. Nice. Nice choice. What's your guilty pleasure?
Sleeping. I love sleeping. I sleep a lot.
Celebrity or famous person that you admire the most or that you follow?
Diego Maradona.
Hmm. Good choice. Achievement that you're proud of the most?
Um, Probably when I step into wherever one of our studios, whether it's in New York or Geneva or here in Brussels, it's to see all these people together. It's really fill me with joy. Simply put, it's just that.
Great. What's the current side hustle or passion or latest obsession that you have?
You mean in our work or outside the work?
Outside of work, something that is not
Uh,
work related, could be absolutely random.
uh, I'm obsessed with stand-up artists for the moment. I think they're great people to watch for designer on how they catch how the world is changing and how they comment on the world. It fascinates me. So
Like
probably that.
comedians
Yeah,
or
comedian. Yeah, stand-up artists
Mhm.
and comedians. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Any particular favorite ones that you're watching or following?
Yeah, the last one I saw like 2 or 3 days ago is Judah Friedlander on Netflix. It's fucking funny. So just watch that.
Amazing. I love it. Uh, Book that you would recommend everyone to read immediately.
Um, Bob Gill book. Yeah, the book's about thoughts on graphic design from Bob Gill. Definitely.
So I'm not surprised. Good choice. Last question. What is the best part about working in branding?
I think the best part is the fact that there's there's no two clients that are the same. Each new client and assignment is a new swimming pool you have to dive into. So I love that. I mean, for example, today I was in Paris working for Théâtre du Châtelet. Tomorrow it's going to be something else. It can be corporate, it can be an opera, it can be developing a product, it can be cookies, tech, and each time it's about building a relationship with people. So that's a beautiful part. I never get tired of that. It's great.
I love it. Building relationship. We'll talk
Yeah,
about more about that in a
sure.
second.
Mhm.
But thanks for answering this very difficult 10 questions. Now we can slow down and talk about
Sure.
deeper topics. And actually, what I want to start with is your journey and your story,
Mhm.
because actually, your story, even though it might sound straightforward, I feel like it's very unusual because you started your company 26 years ago,
Yeah.
and you studied design, you studied art, you started a design company. It's too straightforward for a designer. So tell us, how did it happen? What were the twists, and how did you decide to start your own company? And what else happened between you graduating and now running a successful agency?
Yeah, it was a bit more than 26 years ago. Actually, I started my company while I was at school, at the design school here in Brussels. And so we just gathered with friends and one of them, Dimitri, is still my partner today. So it's been 30 years later. And actually, none of us graduated. Actually, I don't have a diploma because we were like starting at school and we didn't know what we were doing. Actually, we didn't know how to invoice. We had no plan at the time. And you have to know that at that time we didn't even have a Macintosh, so we designed at hand. So so we started like this, starting with super small jobs. Without knowing what we were doing, but just with the energy of when you're young, and that's the beauty of it. You don't know anything, so you're not scared of everything. So that's how it started.
And what did you want to do? Was it graphic design, branding, any sort of design? Did you have any idea what you will end up doing?
Actually, I studied graphic design. At that time, I was no clue what branding was. The word was not even in my vocabulary. I didn't know that. So yeah, it was most of all about graphic design, and we started very small, very super small, and we worked for friends, and then we worked into like this crowd of art galleries, young fashion labels, and we started like any young company, like working with friends that were doing great work, like a bit underground. And we grew like that. And since at that time we didn't have any kids or whatsoever, we could take any risk. And that was the good side of it. Like we were working day and night on the weekends, trying any new thing, up to the day where one of Dimitri's friends, Jeff, in New York, called, and he was working in fashion, and he said, hey, what you guys are doing in Brussels, why don't we do that in New York? And we were like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And so we started like this without thinking even more. So we started in Jeff's room, basically with a Macintosh next to the bed, and was working on the bed. It's when I think back, it's crazy the amount of risks that we took. It was like, yeah, let's do this, let's try it. And that's how we started New York. And then another friend called us from Spain, and he said, why don't we gather and do something in Spain as well? And so we gathered in Brussels, all of us. And that's where, I think it was 96, 97. And that's where we took the name Base, because we had one studio in New York, one in Barcelona, and one in Brussels. And the idea of bases in different base in Spanish, and that was the idea of the name. And so it could expand, and it was totally only about friends together. That was the thing, which is also something difficult because we're working with friends, and about trying and see what happens. And so we definitely had up and downs in the story of Base, but and this spirit is still alive. It's very entrepreneurial, and so we opened, for example, a year ago now, a base in Melbourne, and it's the same spirit that's still alive in the company. And it's funny to have in the same group today. We have one studio that is 26 years old, and another one that is 1 year old. So it's and it's the same group with the same spirits, and we love that. We love that base being like that.
Brilliant. Oh, I love this story about just friends kind of having random thoughts of starting studios in different parts of the planet and just doing it. I think that's very inspiring. But how was the first year when you started? Because it sounds easy, but you need to make money with it. You can't just have a design studio and work for friends. And actually, working for friends sometimes means not having a massive check and payments for each work. So how was it? Were you making any side money, and what did the first year look like?
Definitely like chaos. We didn't know that we were doing. So it was really about we grow. We've been learning by doing. So yeah, we learned little by little how to invoice people, how to get an estimate to people, and how to get paid, and sometimes what to do when you're not paid, and when you're on the ground and fighting for it, and when it's your work, you learn fast. So that's how we did it. And the thing also that's really there's all kind of phases in a company, right? So I can say that up to 2005, it was really about this energy. It was really about, and the partners were controlling everything. So it was really about, we were flying from one base to another. We were like controlling, we were in this desire, controlling all projects. Up to the moment where like you realize it's not possible anymore. It's impossible. And that's in 2008. That's where the crisis hits us. And it was really a tough moment for us. We really went down. We had to close the studios in Spain, Madrid and Barcelona. And then we got like, shit, this is when shit hits the fan, and it's like, fuck, we may lose the company now. And that's where we went out and we asked for advice to external people that help us to really structure our company, structure our group, and do that in a bit more professional way. And that's really when you studied graphic design, for example, you never study how to finance or people management and leadership and all these things you don't know. And we were pretty lousy at that. We were good designers, I guess. And we were kind of definitely we had the energy, but we had to go to the next level. And that's where we seek for advice, and we attract new people in our board. We created a board for our company. And that's where also we created the base group that is now a holding company. That is where there's no hierarchy at base. It's all flat. There's no boss. So it all works very democratic. So solidarity is super important. We all have interest in every studio. We have interest in the other studio. So the solidarity and the people aspect is extremely important. So for example, any new partner now has the same weight as all partners like me. It's like one vote, one person, one vote. So it's really the moment where we realize we really wanted to stay independent. Our objective was never to sell the company, but really to give it to the next generation. And that's the moment for us that is super exciting for the old guys like Dimitri and myself, is how do we transmit the company to the next generation, the new partners, and how base can continue to grow in a very beautiful manner.
Amazing. Oh, that's such an interesting story. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that moment of chaos, and when you grow for the sake of growing and not even sure where you're going with this. So I want to go back to that moment, because I also heard a lot about your personal journey, how you got a coach or a psychologist to kind of go through your own leadership challenges. So let's go to that moment when you decided, okay, we're not going where we should be and we're on the edge of collapsing. You went out to ask for advice. What was the advice that was given to you at that point?
I think that one of the main things that you realize that when you're a young designer, you're obsessed with your project for your clients. And it's good. I mean, that's how you grow in the first phase, I would say. But somehow you understand that suddenly your main project needs to be your company. And that each project should feed the vision and the project of your company. So we hired a coach to do that and to grow into that. And also we had to learn how to be better bosses. It's simple as that, and as complicated as that, because we were never taught that. We didn't know how to do that. So it's everything. It's how you talk to people, how do you correct a project, how you basically give trust to people before even knowing them. Just put them in the right environment to grow. And for me, as a personal journey, it was extremely tough, because you have to change. I mean, you're not changing yourself, you change how you interact with others, with your partners, with your employees, with the designers. And so also I went to the shrink, we got coaching, with also coaching with the partners together to define stop, for example, that everybody is doing everything. You just define what you do best, and you put each one in a better position to do what he does best. So this is also you understand that it would never end. You always have to be ready for change, for new ideas. But the great thing is now I know that when it doesn't go well, it's okay just to say, oh, it's just go well. What can we try? Let's try something else. And then it's I feel very well now after all these years and after crisis moment about handling now all these things.
Brilliant.
I'm not scared anymore about stuff. So that's great.
Do you remember any specifics? Because I think it's obviously it's very difficult to remember because it was a long journey and it was a slow improvement. I'm sure there wasn't one aha moment. But when you went to these people who understand more about finance, about running businesses, do you remember any key things that they advised you or they saw immediately that you're doing wrong, they need you stop right now?
Yeah. I would give one example. We were in the board with a friend that is a super talented guy from the finance world. I mean, about entrepreneurial guy is so sharp and clever. And the initial question was like, who's in charge of this? And for example, the accountability was not existing in our company. It was like, it was like blurry. And he was like, no, who is in charge of this? And me? So answer me on these questions. So the fact that you need to be accountable, that who is accountable of what, if you commit to something, you have to deliver. Like all these things, we've learned to answer against that, to become a better company.
Amazing. Oh, that's so important. I think, that feeling of accountability that eventually gives freedom for everyone to do whatever they want because everyone is accountable for what they're doing. And in terms of actually scaling the business and your studio and your business processes, were there any insights there about you need to charge your clients twice as much? Or I don't know, what was the revelation that you've got from those conversations?
Many things. And the first thing is that I think when you're in that process, you learn that you have to try things. And you have to allow yourself to make errors. And you have to allow your teams to make errors. So I think I mean, for me, there was a revelation, for example, the importance to install rituals in your company. So for example, now across Base, there are rituals that are the same in every studio. And we call it the week rituals at Base. When you install that, and I'm doing conference and talks about that. For example, on Monday morning, you have a meeting where everybody has to be there, and it's a half an hour meeting. And basically, you have to tell the other what are your key 3 challenges of your week. Okay, simple. It can be for the work or for yourself or. It could be, I need to be finished at 6 on Thursday to go to yoga. It can be that. It can be, I need to be ready for that presentation on Friday morning at 10 o'clock. These kind of things. And that's the first meeting. The second is on Wednesday, creative meeting, where we start with inclusions, which is a system where we're all together. It's almost like a therapy group where each one of us has to express how he feels or she feels. What happened since the last week, like very personal moment. I can tell you that when you do that for the first time as a newcomer at Base, like, what is this? But it's now so important. It shapes our company. And it's a company where, for example, when you do this and someone is stressed or feeling bad or has fought with his boyfriend or girlfriend the day before, you can say, oh, I'm super well, no problem. But the leader of the meeting would say, you're super well. And no, I'm not super well, actually. I'm bad because and then you explain that and immediately you would get help. People in your studio would know that you're not in the best moment. So you will feel people with you. It's amazing. These techniques that we have put in place are amazing. So that's on Wednesday. On Thursday, it's one simple thing. It's a base lunch. 2 people of the studio have to cook for the other. That's it. And on Friday, it wasn't Friday, now it's on Monday. We go back to the challenges of Monday and we see if we manage to do them. And if you don't, you have to explain why you missed them. So at least you learn and you teach the other about your experience about that. And the rest of the time, all the people can do whatever they want about a project. They're not controlled. They can do whatever they want as soon as they do what they tell they would do. That's it. It works. And these systems also can change. So we're questioning these processes the whole time. So the company is always evolving through how people are interacting in the company. So that, for example, I found amazing. Because I see the advantages of that. You have a team that they don't lie to each other. They're honest. When it's not going well, they tell it's not going well. When they don't have an idea, that when they're like in the water, like in the mud, like lost in a project, they open to say, I don't know, I don't have anything. Fine, it's okay. Let's work about that. So it's really like opening the thing, and it builds the trust between the people, between the partners and the team. I love that. It's a never-ending process.
Great. And it's so great to hear that you kind of combine the more strategic and kind of creative processes together with very personal and human process of just expressing your emotions. And I agree, it's so important for building trust in teams and creating the culture where everyone feels safe and feels like they can be as creative as they need to be. They won't be judged, and that definitely improves any sort of creativity, no matter what kind of organization you are, but definitely for a design studio. Mm-hmm. But I could have a contra argument for that. If everyone doing whatever they want, then these finance people that you asked those questions many years ago will say, well, how do you know if projects are profitable? How do you manage everyone's time? How do you know that like this project actually can you as a studio can survive?
Because we have great people that are accountable for handling that, for handling traffic and handling the designer's time, and they're also, their position is crucial because they know how a designer or a creative and actually I don't like to divide people between creative and not creative. All meetings are with everybody together. And yes, it's now very well organized. But since you have this sincerity between people, if a designer like feels, oh, I'm not going to be ready for Thursday, he can go and say, hey, I'm not going to be ready. Let's call the client. What can we do to solve that issue? So it has to come an easy place for mistakes, for dialogue, conversation. It's not always perfect, of course. Sometimes it's not going well. Sometimes there are tensions. I'm not saying it's paradise, but it's at least we have the tools at any moments to, I think, to solve any kind of questions.
Brilliant. I think it's the balances there in the kind of the freedom with the structure that allows everyone to do their work on time, and having that support, whether it's from account managers or traffic managers or whoever can support the pure creative flow of energy. I think that is what makes any project successful. But I also want to talk a bit more about your personal journey, because as soon as you mentioned the coach and the shrinks, I got super excited because I'm actually going through exactly the same process at the moment. So we've got a coach as the team, and I'm discovering a lot of interesting things about myself. So I would love to talk to you about that. If you remember kind of your first revelations, things that, again, I'm sure you had the same or similar process of understanding kind of what your potential gaps in the skills are, as well as what the team sees you.
I remember one thing, for example, I remember one day where he came to the room and he said, we're going to talk about the complex of the imposter today. I was like, oh, I like that already. And it's about this idea that anyone, even Barack Obama, the day he was elected president, is in his bed and saying, shit, people would just uncover me. I'm not up to the task. You know, like this complex of imposter that everyone feels at any moment in his career, like or in his work. Like when you suddenly you have to go somewhere and do a presentation, it's like, no, they will discover that I'm a clown. I can't do that.
Yeah.
That, for example, was a moment when you know that everybody's feeling that at some point in his career or her career. It's nice. For example, it's nice. There were many moments. There was also a moment where super important for me. The journey with my all-time partner Dimitri was like we were friends for like we went on holidays together with our families and kids and thing and that, and then we got into fights because it was too much, and we got like these big clashes between us, and that also can put your company in danger. So we went in retreat for 4 days with a coach in the south of Morocco.
Oh,
And
wow.
that was an amazing experience because it got us back together on really, like we kind of forgot why we were like friends and partners, and how to make these are the reason why we're friends. These are the reason why we're working together, how to deal with all these things and all these emotional dimensions. And I think at least at base, I think, and it's different in the different studio. I think, for example, the base in Brussels is way more emotional than the base in New York because of the culture of each country and city. But that's fine. I think, but we're pretty emotional at base, and I like it this way. We're not machines. We're humans, and it's going to be tough, but it's going to be fun also, and difficult, and sad, and great, and all these things together. So
Brilliant. Oh, can you tell a bit more about this Morocco trip? That sounds really exciting. Was it just two of you that went, or the entire
no, we
company and
went.
your families?
No. It was just two of us with a coach.
Oh,
So
wow. What did
yeah.
you do? Were there like exercises that you had to do every day, or talk? How did it work?
First of all, I cannot tell everything because I swear that some of the exercise I have to keep them secret.
Oh, now I'm really intrigued.
That was the commitment. But it was a mix of for example, physical experience. Like we had to be downstairs at 8 and to run on the beach, right? And I'm not that kind of guy. I like to play tennis I need a ball. I'm a dog. I need a ball to run. And we had to run and do yoga. And the two of us, like, was the funniest moment, like to see each other. But we did also exercise about like very difficult exercise, for example, to imagine the day of your death and someone, you have to think about someone that would make a speech about you, with you in your casket. Right? What would you like this person to say? That's wonderful exercise. We were both crying during this exercise, but it's extremely useful because then it gives you meaning about how you want to basically run the rest of your life until the last day. So it's that, for example, helped me a lot, that exercise. So but many others, like fun moment as well. So yeah, it's really important. And the funny thing in that trip is that I was thinking that we would spend a lot of time about discussing why we would fight and what we would, but that was not the point. It was about refocusing of each one's personality and being like okay with each one. It's therefore okay with the other one, and then we got back from there, and now we're back to great energy between us. So it's really helped. It was nice.
Amazing. Oh, that's such a wonderful idea. And I love the exercise of how you want to be remembered. That's definitely something good to reflect on.
Sure.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And in terms of the change that you saw from all these different experiences and working with a coach, what would you say changed in you as a creative leader? What things that you worked on or you improved on through this process?
For me, it was definitely a moment where I realized, like I was at a crossroad on a personal level. As a designer, I suddenly it was clear in front of me. Either I continue to be a designer and I would perfect my craft, just like I would say the Japanese way, like how can I be by improving my craft as a designer, or, and what that was the other way, I stopped designing and I lead designers. I lead people. I help people to grow. And for me, it was an obvious choice. It was the second one. So I basically stopped designing one day, and I decided, okay, now how can I transmit what I know? How can I make younger generation, younger designer discover their better side, their personality, their skills? That's why I teach. That's why I'm doing all these things now. It's because I discovered that was my journey. But any journey is good. You have to find whatever it's good for you.
And how did you deal with losing that identity of a craftsman and designer? Because I can totally relate to that. As soon as you step away from doing things, first of all, your imposter syndrome goes even to a worst state, because now you're not even designing and you call yourself a designer, or you don't even know what to call yourself. And then how do you start introducing yourself as well? Because you're not doing design and your whole identity was always based on the fact that you're a creative person. And now, are you a teacher? Are you a director? Are you a business person? What was the process for you?
I don't really care about I'm still calling myself a designer. Yeah, because designers you can design anything. For example, designing our week and our processes, this is design. I mean, this is giving shape to things, times, processes. For me, it was not at all a painful process to stop designing in the way a graphic designer would do it. I still love to to design on how we're going to do a project, to find ideas with people. So I was, for example, totally obsessed on how. I remember I did a small survey across all bases, similar questions to the different designers, and almost all of them, they were saying, I want to be able to say I did it, but I want to work in a team. So there's this contradiction about me, but I want to feel a team the whole time with me. So there's this contradiction that is very human. So I was obsessed with how you make people to work together on a project, how you do that. And I was obsessed to create that environment or climate to in a way that anyone can talk freely, propose ideas. And I think in that, I think we're doing pretty well at base. Like all what is group work and stuff works well.
Brilliant. Oh, I love it. And I think it's a very, you make it sound easy, like it was a very easy process of you stepping away and everyone working, but I have a feeling it wasn't. And I think it's incredible to hear that you figure out all these things and you kind of constantly conscious about how you run your company and how everyone is feeling or what everyone is doing. That's amazing.
It's funny because when I do a talk, when I explain this, and people come afterward and say, how long did it take to do that? And they expect me to answer 6 months or a year, and I answer 8 years. No, it's not easy. It's a long process. You need to be extremely patient. You need to and there's moments where you're totally like you lose face. You look like, oh, it's never going to work, and you. No, it's not easy. But as soon as you keep on believing that you can do it and that you want to do it and you like it, because that's also, I liked it and I still like it. So and the beauty of it is then the more you do that, now I don't, even sometimes I'm in the studio and people are coming to me and saying, hey, maybe we could change that process. Maybe you could do this differently. I'm like, great, why not? So it's not a fixed thing. It's not like, engraved in stone. Everything has to change all the time. So, for example, after this pandemic and the fact that we had to adapt quickly we're changing all of our studio, which is rechanging again the processes. We're using that experience to trying to be better. I don't know if it will be, but we'll see. And already there's many things that we presented to the team and worked with the team to try to surprise ourselves first.
What would you say are the most important traits of character for a creative leader, for design leader? Let's say 3, if you have to pick 3 most important, what would they be?
Yeah, I'm focused always on the capacity to listen. I love when people like in the first phase are like, they just listen. They listen to things. This is super important. A lot of people tend to want to go in a discussion or immediately debate. No, first listen. And also that's a great advice that I got years ago. When you go to a client meeting, try to make the client talk and shut the fuck up, listen. And just get to that. What I really love is candor. When people behaving like it in a naive way, almost, that they're open in a way a kid is open, I love playfulness also. People when like they're, and actually even the more serious people, when you get to the right way, you can play with anyone. And that's really, I'm always trying to transform any job into something that can be fun for us in the process. Doesn't mean that it's not serious. Huh? It's really serious. But the same way a kid, when he's playing, is very serious at playing. I love that. Being curious, obviously, super important. Being open, the ability to dialogue. I think we should treasure relationships. If you build a true relationship between designers, but also with clients, it can go wrong. I mean, all this sincerity, I try to build that since the first meeting with clients, for example. I tell them, I will tell you everything I think. If I don't like it, if I feel unease, I will tell you. Please tell me. We will win so much time. So when you set up the rules of that relationship game very early in the process, if you're with the right people, it works always. And yeah.
Love it. And is there any trait of character that you see a lot in creative leaders, but is actually destructive, and you would say that that's something that we all should work on and improve on?
I think I have that, for example, and I don't like me when I like that. But I think we all like that. I think we're always seeking for recognition. I'm always like, I like when people are telling me, "Oh, that's great," or "That's beautiful." Or, So that's, I think, among creative people. I think we're all among creative people pretty fragile. So we're fragile here. So we need like people that comfort us by saying, "Oh, your book cover is brilliant." Like we need that. So yeah, I think that's a common trait. Like so in some people it's very strong, in some it's lower, but I think we all have that.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I think it's an ongoing joke with any creative people that they constantly need that a bit of a pat on the back, and just I think a bit of encouragement as well. And I think it's not a bad thing either, recognizing that creative people need it, and also encouraging other creative around you, even your competitors or people that you know in creative industry. It does change their mood immediately when you just compliment their work. I think.
But this is something, for example, that I've learned in the early stages. I was only telling my designer when it was bad. I don't like that, change this, it's not good. But I was never telling anything when it was good. And this is a simple thing that you have to learn to do, you know? When it's good, "Oh, this is great, I love it. Come, let's take this, it's great." So, we need to constantly support each other with these things.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm Russian, so I'm definitely very easily tricked into that behavior of pointing out what might go wrong or things that are not right. And I think it's making that conscious decision of also noticing things that are beautiful, that are going well, and that are just someone did a good job. It's not easy, and for those people for whom it doesn't come natural, it becomes almost like a constant exercise in the brain. But it's definitely a good habit to have for your own mental health as well as mental health of people around you.
Sure.
I think it definitely makes a difference.
But other thing, for example, that will help your design company to work, that definitely helps us, it's transparency. For example, 4 days ago, we were showing all the numbers, the profit, and then to the studio. We're just showing all the numbers. So, for example, that also creates an environment where you build trust by showing this is the reality of our studio in every dimension.
And I would love to talk a bit about your work, because it is beautiful, and you did quite a lot of very famous and very well recognized projects. So it would be very interesting to hear, first of all, which ones for you were important. So through this 26 or 30 years of doing design, Which ones you would say were the most significant to the studio?
There are many, but there's obviously one that was a turning point. It was in the year 99, 2000. We were in New York since a bit less than a year and a half, 2 years, and we won the competition. So we were this super small, tiny studio like this, and we won the competition to do the branding of the MoMA in New York. The MoMA was moving from Manhattan to Queens for 4 years, and so they wanted to a more like young approach. And we were kind of at that time this new studio in New York, kind of cool, coming from Europe with the European touch and stuff. And so we got the project. I would never forget the moment. I was with Dimitri in Greece on holidays, and we got a call. We were really on the beach, and we got a call from Jeff saying, "We won MoMA." And it was like, what? So that was like really a moment of shit at the same time, and at the same, so we got totally drunk that night. We celebrate like crazy, and then we really worked crazy hard because we knew that that kind of opportunity will not come twice. And so I also remember in that job, so we did everything, and we were back and forth between Europe and New York, and then we had to go there to present to the director and the board. And so we came into the MoMA on 53rd Street, and then we went up, and then all these guys with ties and the director of MoMA. And I was like, I was like coming from my little house here in Brussels, and I was like, this is a Tom Cruise movie. I'm an imposter. They will see I'm a joke. And we presented the whole presentation. It was a good presentation, and also it's a presentation that set the landmark for a lot of work after, because we tried, it was the first time we were using quoting and text in our branding. It was like, we tried a lot of new things actually in this job. And at the end of the presentation, the light went up and the director of MoMA said, we do this exactly as it is now. We didn't have to change anything. So I went out, and we went out of the building like flying. It was like one of the best moments of my life. I will never forget it. And from that moment, when you are this little company and suddenly you become these guys that did MoMA for us, and it was crazy, because then other jobs came in, and it was a turning point. Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. I can imagine how it is scary but exciting when you get those projects. You put all your soul and passion into that. And yeah, that constant kind of roller coaster of excitement and just hoping that it will all work out. And for you, obviously, it did. And I think it definitely, you remember those moments.
Yeah.
So what are the qualities that you seek in a designer when interviewing for a design position at Base? And I suppose, how can people, if they want to apply, how they can get in touch, and how do you prefer people to send their work?
Yeah, I think that it's pretty normal. What we're asking is a letter of motivation. Why they're contacting us? Why us? Of course, portfolio. I'm not too obsessed with skills. Of course, there's a mix of quality of past work and stuff, but it's really about the personality. I can feel pretty quickly if someone has a potential to grow, and I think also one of the things that I would ask immediately and try to understand is the capacity to work in a team. I don't need divas. I don't need people that are like, that think that they're best than the other, and that cannot work in a team environment. If you cannot collaborate in our business, you die. It's impossible. So sometimes we hire people that are maybe not the best skilled, but have something, or a twist personality in thing. Or, for example, I hired one of my strongest strategists today. Never did strategy before, and when he applied for the position, he just sent a letter basically explaining that he never did all what we were asking, but the letter was so fucking funny, so well written. I mean, it was everything. And then we had a meeting, and after 5 minutes, I said, okay, let's do a test. And so we did a test, and he's with us since this amount of years, and we were right. I mean, it's a great guy. So and this can happen also with a designer, or so we had I also, when we hired, I think we tried to find a good mix with the team also. For example, if you hired three very quiet persons, you need probably one that is louder, or you need these kind of mix of personalities, backgrounds, attitudes that blend into something that sounds like a good salad of people, good group.
I love it. Such a great advice. Next question, on the topic of creative leadership and managing a team, how do you handle conflicting opinions among the team regarding design work?
Yes. The first thing is to accept that there is conflict. It sounds stupid, but of course there will be conflicts. Of course there will be difference of opinion. So if there are conflicts, and I don't like conflicts. Conflicts mean really a battle, but a debate. We're disagreeing on stuff. I think the first thing is that we can debate, but to debate you need stuff on the table or on the computer. You cannot debate for the sake of in the air, because then you're debating about ideas, and each one has a different mental image of that idea, so it's not useful. So let's put things on the table, projects, things, designs, typography, text, sketches, or on the wall, because then you cannot debate if you don't bring anything to the table, right? And if there is a conflict, my advice is, okay, maybe there is a conflict between two people. You cannot leave it there. Meaning, I just always tell them, okay, now you two, just take a coffee together. Don't talk about the project anymore. Talk about what happened between you two. And you need to get to, we're okay now. So just take your time, but you cannot bring that tension back and keep it in yourself for the next 10 days, because it will impact the whole team, and it would impact the design, the quality. So that's my advice.
Oh, that's a brilliant advice. And I think, again, you're pointing out the whole human element in any design problem, just sometimes sitting down and talking to someone about topics that are unrelated, and just making sure you get rid of that tension can actually create a success for any sort of design work. What is the critical part for you when designing a brand?
I think the part where you need to, and we do that always with our client, we do workshops with basically vision workshops. And that's where you need to debug all the bullshit. Because for a lot of people, it's not easy to do that, but you need to go at the core. It's really like shrink sessions with them. And sometimes they say, yeah, and we're dynamic, and with that, I'm like, not interested. I don't believe you. You have to provoke them to get to the core of things. That is, for me, a very important part. It's really how to debug the bullshit that is still around in a lot of companies or big brands. Like, they're talking about values and stuff. I'm like, oh, no, don't bullshit me with your values. I'm always very skeptical when they come up with me to me with that. So this is really important as at the beginning, to set the tone on how you would go to something that is real. Have a great vision and a great strategy, and then deliver poor design. I mean, you have to keep up to the expectation and your expectation as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. Any advice for a new startup agency entering the industry?
It's a good question, because this is a recurring question. I don't think startups need branding in the first phase. I think they would spend money for things that they really don't need. Startups are really about a product in the first phase. Startups, it's also very often the founders are like this with they are what they do. So they are the brand. So they don't need anything else. I think we're more useful in the second phase, in the scale up, When the startup has 2 or 3 years, it exists, it has startup, it is getting stronger, and then it needs to become a brand. That's the moment where we can help them to the scale up of a startup.
Brilliant. I wanted to wrap up this conversation with the last question that a lot of people also can relate to. So if you remember yourself 10 years ago, first of all, where were you 10 years ago? What were you doing? And if you could give yourself advice to avoid potentially lots of mistakes or get to where you are faster or in a less painful way, what would you say?
Wow, that's a difficult one. I was so focused and obsessed with the transformation of the company. I was not a great leader, I think. I was like too close, and I was not open enough to get people with me and understand what it was all about. I was too tense about that. I was too intense about that also. With time, I've learned to, okay, easy, let go, it's fine. You can be focused, very good, but you need to always keep an attitude that is not like, I want that and I want that. You know, you have to be still focused, but easy in your attitude with others, and more open to advice, to critics. Also, super important. I've learned that, for example, critics makes me learn way faster than people saying, "Oh, what you do is great. It's great." When people criticize me, it's way better. Actually, it's way more interesting.
Open mind and being more relaxed and becoming better leaders. I think that's a brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Thierry, and lovely talking to you. Bye.